All right, we're going to talk next about colorants. Right, I listed earlier colorants as dyes, pigments, and powders. Right, so we're going to talk a little bit about each one. So we'll start with the dye. We have Alumilite dye, which is labeled on the bottle as transparent. These dyes will not make an opaque blank. They're labeled as transparent. They're transparent. If you put enough of it in there, you'll get a nearly opaque blank, but these will give you background color. They are great for giving you color, but they're not going to give you opaqueness. Okay. Alumilite has, and we carry 10 different colors. They have a lot more colors, but we don't carry the not the translucent. We don't carry the like the fluorescent colors. That's the word I was looking for. We don't carry the fluorescence, but we carry the main, blue, yellow, green, red, orange, brown, black, white, all the major colors. You can mix this just like paint. Red and white will make pink. Yellow and blue makes green. Right? So you can mix these just like paint. You can mix all of these colorants just like paint. The next colorant is pigment. All right? We carry the Divine Island Pigment line. And again, they have all the major colors and some very specific colors. This pigment will give you an opaque blank, but it's going to be just color. There's going to be no depth. It's going to be a solid color. So a little bit goes a long way with this. A couple of drops, maybe 3 or 4 drops, but too much may overload the resin. You can use this in all the resins. All of these colorants I'm going to talk about can be used in all of the resins. All right. They're all non-water based. You do not want to use a water-based resin in Alumilite Clear or Clear Slow products. The Divine Island pigments also can be mixed like paint. They are, I believe they're a polyester base, but that's irrelevant. You can use them, like I said, in all the different resins that we talked about. So, and there's a full line of Divine Island pigments on our site also. These last a long time because it only takes a little bit. And then the last is Mica Powder, right? This is our full line of Mica Powder. We have all the different colors, and we set our line up to kind of work with each other. So all the colors work well together. You've got all your reds, yellow, greens, browns, black, white. We've got a couple of interference, and we also have a special additive, which we call macro sparkle, which will give you that diamond-like effect. It will give you the sparkle in your blank. One thing we've tried to do is put the color on the label so that you don't have to lift up every jar to find the color that you're looking for. So mica powder, what is mica powder? Mica powder comes from a mineral. Whatever color mineral creates that shade of mica powder. Do your homework. We sell 1 ounce jars, 28 grams. So ours are a little more expensive than the rest on the market. But if you do your math, you'll find that per gram, it's cheaper. It's just more because you're getting more because it's all measured by weight. It's not done by volume. The mica powder is what's going to give you that depth in your blank. It's going to give you the iridescence. It's going to give you the look of swirl and depth in that swirl. Can you get an opaque blank from mica? Yes, but it takes a lot of mica. And how do you tell if you're going to get an opaque blank from any of the colorants? Is when you mix it, mix it to the color density that you think you need, and then pull your popsicle stick out, and that layer of resin that's left on your popsicle stick is going to tell you whether or not you have enough color density. If you can see the popsicle stick through the color, it's not, you don't have enough density. You need to put more colorant in it. And the reason that I say that is, if you think about it, when we finish our pens, get them down to final diameter, your thickness of the resin is about equal to the resin thickness on your popsicle stick when you pull it out. So if you can see the popsicle stick through that resin, you're going to see the tube through your resin also. So make sure that you do that test when you pull your popsicles, when you're mixing. Pull your popsicle stick out and see if you see the popsicle stick. If you do, put some more colorant in it. Now, what else can you use? So what is mica powder really? What do they use it for, other than what we use it for in casting? Well, mica powder is also used in eyeshadow. So people that make cosmetics, they get this mica powder from the same source that I do, and they mix it with other fillers, and it creates the eyeshadow that women use. So if you've got a color of eyeshadow that somebody wants a blank in, go buy it and use it. You're just going to have to use more of it because there's more fillers in there, and it's not all color. This is pure color. There's no fillers. This is pure mica powder. Your eyeshadow is mica powder with fillers. If you want to use fingernail polish, go by all means use fingernail polish. It's going to give you the same type of effect as your pigment. It's just going to give you color. It's not going to give you depth, but if it gives you the color you want, that's what it's all about. So you don't have to use mica powder. You don't have to use dyes. You don't have to use pigments. You can use whatever you want to get the color that you need. Just make sure it's not a water-based substance. You want something that's non-water-based, and that'll give you the best result. So, but mica powders, mix them together. Because you'll see during my demo, I'm gonna try to get a little bit of a darker blue than what we have in blue, but not go to the really dark blue that we have. And so I'm gonna add mica powder and I'm gonna add pigment. So to get an opaque blank, you usually want to mix mica powder with either pigment or dye. That's going to give you the best result. That's going to give you the maximum color density. The dye is going to give you the background color. The mica powder is going to give you the iridescence and the depth to your cast. Because that's what catches people's eye, is the depth of the cast. Ready to do a cast. Let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is set my mold up so that I can use my mold release, because the mold release has got to have a chance to set up. And once it dries, it'll turn into a powder in your mold. But so shake up your can and just a couple of light sprays. It's about all it needs. And then I'm going to set that to the side so that I can let it dry while I'm getting the rest of my prep going on. So I found a marker, because when I fill the cups, I'm going to want to mark on them the number of grams that are in that cup. Because what you do is you put your cup on your scale, turn it on, and it is now zeroed out with the cup on the scale. So if I pull that off, there's almost 8 grams to this cup. So my mold takes 282 grams of resin if I do it exact. So I'm going to mix up 300 grams. There's that way it'll leave me a little bit left over in each of my cups. So I'm going to do a red, white, and blue cast. You can see my red, my white, and my blue. And I have some white Divine Island pigment. I have some red Alumilite dye, and I have some blue Divine Island pigment. And I'm going to mix the dyes and mica powder and go from there. So I got my cup on here. A lot of guys don't like to pour from the large cups. I pour directly from the large cups. It's just what I've always done. It's what I'm used to doing, and it gets me close enough. So I need 300 for the cast. I'm doing 3 colors. So a little bit of math, that means I need 100 of each color if I want it all mixed evenly, and that's all I'm going to do today. So to get 100 white, 100 blue, and 100 red, but this is a 2-part resin because it's Alumilite clear. So I need 50 of part A and 50 of part B to give me 100 of each color. So again, measuring in grams. And if I miss on this, it's not a big deal. It's much more difficult on the second one if you miss. So I purposely went over just a little bit. And I always have paper towels to wipe the rim of my jugs when I'm done so that I don't drip all over the place. So this is 52.28. So I'm going to take 52 and write it on the side of the jar right there. All right. So 52 for the first one. And this cup's a little bit of a different size. So when I put it on there, I tar out my scale to 0 it. And this one's 54. So 54 goes on this one. And my last one. Again, 0 out my scale. And this one's 58. So all that means is I'm going to have some leftover resin, but that's not altogether a bad thing. So set my scale to the side for a few minutes. And now let's go ahead and do our powders, our colorants, I should say. So I've got this Divine White. So if it's sat for a while like mine have, you just have to mix it. So mix it up. If you've got the squeeze bottles, just shake it and it'll bring it all back together. So I'm mixing it with the small popsicle stick. All right, and when I'm done, you want to kind of take your popsicle stick. I got not a whole lot on there, but I just mix it around in the resin. And that really is just going to give me my background color. That's all I'm looking for, is to get a background color. All right, and you can see already that's pretty white. So now I want to put my mica powder in it. All right, so this is the Snow White mica powder. and I always use a lot. Because I want that depth and the iridescence of the color. So after that's added, mix it in. You want to be careful when you first start mixing, because you don't want to spray that powder everywhere, because it will go airborne. So you just mix it in slowly, and then after it gets mixed in, you can mix with vigor. All right, so my white's done. Set that to the side. Next one I'm going to do is red. So I'm going to take my Alumilite dye, and I'm going to put a couple of drops in it. 2, 3 drops, that'll do. And I'll go ahead and mix this so you can see that it's pseudo translucent. It's going to probably look pretty red in the camera, but I guarantee you it's still translucent. I can see the bottom, and you can see the popsicle stick. So you can see it's translucent. It's not opaque. So now I'm going to take my mica powder, and I'm going to put the mica powder in with the Alumilite dye. So a couple of scoops of that should be good. And again, kind of slow to start mixing. And you can see how much darker how much more dense the red is than when it was with just the Alumilite dye. So now I've got a little bit of a squirt of the Abyss Blue out of the squirt bottle, and I'm going to add to that. Well, before I do that, let me show you what the pigment alone looks like. So again, just color, no depth at all to the resin, just color. So now I'm going to put a couple of scoops. When I use pigment, I use a little bit more mica powder because it's such a dense liquid. All right, so scrape the side of the cups, mix. I mean, you can see when you pull, I don't see the popsicle stick in that. So we're good on the color density. And you can see now that there's some depth to that. It's not just color. That color variant is the mica powder in there. So, all right, now we're ready to add our other side of resin. All right. Take the side that I used and set it aside so that I don't accidentally put it in again. As don't ask me how I know that if you put 2 part A's or 2 part B's together, it doesn't cure. But I'm just saying I've probably heard that somewhere before. So now I'm ready to put my other part in, and as soon as I put my other part in, that's when the timer kind of starts. That's when it starts to cure. So I have to be ready. So what do I need to be ready? I have my infrared thermometer. Why do I need this? Because that's what we're going to pour by. When we reach about 95 degrees on any of the three colors, the first one to reach 95 degrees, we go ahead and we do our final mix, and then we pour, because that's going to give you color separation. If you pour too early, the resins have a time to mix. So the red and the white's going to make pink. The blue and the red's going to make what? Purple, I think. And the blue and the white is going to make a lighter blue. To keep color separation, to get that sharp divide between red and white, you want to let your resin come up in temperature and start to become more of a cold honey than a water type consistency. And then if you pour, you'll get a good color separation between all the colors. Remember, when you mix your colors, once you pour them, you want to minimize the amount of mix, because the more you mix, the more you're combining red and white into pink. I've got my pressure pot rack sitting here ready to go. And just for FYI, I have added to the top of my pressure pot rack a bullseye level so that I can make sure it sits level in my pot. That's a good addition to do. You can see that there are multiple locations to be able to put racks in here, right? There's 3 racks that'll go in here and the plexiglass top. If you're only doing one cast, just leave it on the bottom. If you load up the top without the other shelves on the bottom, you want to load this from bottom to top to prevent the sides from bowing. And I also have on the other side of that my pressure pot, which I'll pull in once I put my rack inside of it. And I have my air ready to go. And make sure your compressor's charged. Don't ask me again how I know that. So let's go ahead and start putting the other side of resin in. So this cup was my 58 gram cup. So turn my scale on and it zeroes out. So I want 58 grams. And this is where you don't want to miss. Because if you miss, it becomes hard, because then you have to say, okay, how much more of the other resin do I have to add back in? And then it becomes a chasing game. So you just want to get fairly close, right? All right there's 58. So give that an initial mix to bring the two together, and then set it aside. This one's here is my 54, so let me zero out my scale. And 53.96, I think that's close enough to 54. And my last cup is my 52 cup. If you didn't see it, I zeroed it out. And 52.39, close enough for government work. Set my resin to the side. Now I can set my scale to the side because I don't need it anymore. And now comes the waiting game. Mix, 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 measure temperature, mix, 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 measure temperature. And now's the time to not get distracted. So every one of them's had a good mix on it. Make sure you scrape the sides. You cannot over stir your resin. You can under stir. If your resin is not mixed well, it's not going to cure well. So make sure you mix your resin. Mix, 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 mix. So you go to all 3, you mix it, because you don't want to take the temperature of a resin without mixing it first. So we're looking at 76 there, 78 there, and 78 there. So we got a little bit of time. You just don't want to get distracted and lose focus. So the name of the game now is you've worked hard enough to get to this point. Let's not forget what's at the finish line, which is a set of blanks that you can take some pride in. So I mean, we're already at 80 on that one, gone up. I mean, so you see it goes up pretty quick. We're about 80 on, I think, just about all of them. This one here is about 84. So, like I said, 95 or so with the clear, Alumilite clear, will give you enough time to get it poured. And so I'm going to get my mold in front of me and ready. It'll give you enough time to get it poured, put on the rack put in the pot, top lid put on, and then pressurized up. So you just have to be ready. You have to make sure that you're fully set up, because although it's time, it's not a lot of time. And you can start to feel the cup warm up too as you pick the cup up to mix it. That's another good indication that your resin's coming up to temperature. So 84, 87, 80, 88. So I don't remember which one I filled first. I think it was blue was the first one. I went blue, red, white, and that makes sense on temperature because this is the hottest, this is the second, and this is the coolest, the white one here, the last one. So it kind of leads along the right, to how you mixed them, how you poured the second set of resin in. So if you wait too long, it's going to come out in a glob. It goes very rapidly from 95-ish degrees to, oh crap, I can't pour it anymore. So 91 on this one, 93 on this one, and 89 here. So like I said, 95 on the first, on any of the three, you start pouring. You do the last mix and then you pour. So I'm not just I'm maybe a couple minutes off. So we should be pretty good to go. And you see what I'm doing. I stick the popsicle stick to the side with the resin in between it and the side of the wall, and it usually stays up. That one hit 96, that one's at 97, and that one's at 91. So last mix, and then we're going to pour. And I'll show you my technique for pouring. All right, so you've got three colors, and I take and I put down a little bit of a base color, and then I put down another color, and then I put down another color, and then I'll come back with another one, and you can create whatever design you want within here. You can see how I'm kind of back and forth, circles, and you see the resin dripping down the side of the cups. That's why I use it on an HDPE sheet. And the thickness and the height that you pour from varies the way that it goes into the mold and how deep it goes and how it spreads. So those techniques are all things you can work on. If you want to pour all three at once, that's possible. You just take your paper cups kind of group them together, and you've got all three resins that you can pour in at one time, doing various patterns. So there's a lot of different techniques you can use. You just have to make it whatever you want it to be. So I'm almost full. One last little bit. And now I'm going to take a popsicle stick, or I'm sorry, a toothpick, and I'm just going to kind of go down and up because I want to raise some through, but I don't want to mix it. So you can see just a little bit there, a little bit here. Done. Now I'm going to put the mold onto the pressure pot rack. Put the pressure pot rack into the pressure pot without tilting it. Line up the top. Tighten it down by hand. And then take a wrench of whatever type you have. I tighten down my top. And the pressure that I go to, I said, was 35 to 45 pounds, right? So, all right, all four sides are tight. So now I'm going to take and fill it. All right, there we go, 40 pounds. So we'll come back in a little bit, and I'll demold, and we'll see what kind of casting we got. All right, so our color casting's been in the pot for a couple of, I'd say an hour, hour and a half. We're ready to demold it. So put my pressure pot up here on the counter. You can see on the pressure there, it's still about 40 pounds, right where we left it. So gonna be some loud noise. Turn your volume down. All right, so let the air off. Loosen up the nut, the bolts. All right, I'm gonna put this back on the floor, make it a little bit easier. All right, here's our cast. So there you are right there. Some guys are able to tap this on the table and get it to come out. So let's see. Nope, not gonna happen for me. So I've got a cordless screwdriver, and I'm just gonna pop this side off. So 3 screws. And now I'm going to try and get my screwdriver down underneath here. Yeah, that was easy. All right. Once you get it released, it comes out pretty easily. So what do they say? Casting's like a box of chocolates, right? You don't know what you got until you get inside of it. So I'm going to take this over to the table saw and cut it up. And let's see what we end up with. All right, so we're back from the table saw, and this is the blank that we cut. I left it in the same orientation. If you open it up, you can see that there is really good color separation and definition between red, yellow, and white, or red, white, and blue. So the color or the temperature we poured at was about right. Now it just comes down to height of the pour, stream thickness, and at the end, the stirring. Because if you remember, I took that toothpick and I went to the bottom and I lifted. Well, that's what some of this lift is through this area here. Some of that lift through this area right here was that toothpick coming up and bringing that white up through the other colors. So not bad for an amateur that doesn't do it much, but you know, hopefully your castings turn out even better, and we'd love to see what you produce. Please come back, show us what you've got. Love to see what people are doing. Hit us up at PTownSubbie.com, on Facebook, online, send us an email, but let us know what you're doing. Let us know how it turns out. If you need help, let us know. We're here to help. We're not just here to sell you products. We're here to teach you, and we're here to help you through those times that you're having that are difficult. So these will turn out some really nice looking pens, and so hope you enjoy your casting. Hope you enjoyed your time watching these videos, and let us know if you have any questions.